Good afternoon, everyone. Please silence your phones for the duration of the meeting. Welcome to the March 26, 2024 meeting of the THS Board of Directors. My name is Michael English. I'm the President and Chair of the THS Board. The meeting format is hybrid, so we have members who are listening and viewing in. Quorum is physically present at the Hart Administrative Offices of 1201 East 7th Avenue Boardroom, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. So the meeting is called to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda is public input. Is there anyone here registered to speak? Hearing none, I'll move to agenda item number 3, election of officers. Mr. Smoker?
Thank you. So in accordance with the bylaws of THS. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Is the light on?
Yep. According to THS's bylaws, section 3.6, in March, we have our election of officers. The process that I will ask for is that we get nominations. They can either be from the floor or they can be from existing board members. And an existing board member can nominate themselves if they wish. Once the nominations are closed, I will ask the members to vote on the nominations to identify one member with a majority of votes. The board members with the majority of votes will be elected as the officers. Anyone have any questions? Okay, so the first officer position is for the president and chair of the THS Board of Directors. The current 2023 president and chair is obviously Mr. English. Do we have
Lena. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Do we have any nominations from the floor for the president and chair of the Board of Directors?
I'd like to nominate President English to maintain that role.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
So you got a nomination, you have a second. All in favor of Michael English serving in 2024?
Aye.
And the presumption is that you've accepted the nomination.
Yes. Thank you all very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be associated with this organization, and it's been going on a while, and it never gets less interesting and challenging. So thank you very much.
Now, the next officer that we need to elect is the position of vice president and chair. The current vice president and chair is Abby Ahern. Do we have any nominations from the floor for the 2024 vice president and chair of the THS Board of Directors?
I'd like to nominate Abby Ahern as vice president and chair.
Second.
All in favor? I assume you will accept.
I will
All in favor,
graciously accept.
signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you for your trust in me.
So, it seems to me we also have
You
to
have one
nominate
more.
a treasurer. Okay.
Secretary Treasurer.
Yeah, secretary treasurer. Any nominations from the floor?
I nominate Ms. Williams.
Second.
Ms. Williams has been nominated as secretary and treasurer. All in favor, I assume you will accept.
Yes.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries.
Thank you.
You now have your slate of officers.
Thank you, Mr. Smoker. Thank you, everyone. Welcome aboard, board. Officers.
Two
Okay,
puns in one.
the next item is number 4, approval of minutes from January 23rd, 2024 regular meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Okay, agenda item number 5. The action item is Resolution R 2024-0302, accepting the final fiscal year 2023 audited Tampa Historic Streetcar financial statements. We are honored to have Mr. Lee Huffstetler here today, Chief Accountant for the City of Tampa.
Thank you, Mr. President and Board. Yes, I'm Lee Huffstetler. I'm the City of Tampa's Chief Accountant, and the City of Tampa keeps the books for the streetcar, for those of you I'm new to. I've been coming to these meetings for the last 20 years, like some of you have. I've been with the city for 20 years. But lately, I haven't been coming, been letting my staff come. So high five to Nancy Harper. You may see her here. She actually does all the work. And kudos to her. But we do have in front of you the 9/30 financial statements, and I looked at them. We got a clean opinion from the auditors. There were no findings. There were no comments. I noted that the ridership is up. And the hard operating expenses are flat, so those are both good things. Assessments are up. I did notice that the interest rate was high. It was 9% for your earnings. You know, we also keep the streetcars money at the City of Tampa. And that surprised me, it was 9%, but that was a function of mark-to-market adjustments. We have to mark-to-market every year, every month, all the time. And I think it was just relative to the prior year, which was a down year by comparison, that it was up. So with that, I would entertain a motion to receive and file these statements as the streetcars statements for 9/30/23.
Excellent. We have a
So
motion,
moved.
please? We have a
So
motion.
moved.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Say nay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. It's always a pleasure. So agenda item number 6 is a special presentation. This is going to be an interesting one, too. From scholars from the University of South Florida who are going to showcase their LiDAR scanning of our ancient streetcars. Mr. Allen, would you like to make an introduction yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, President English, members of the board, Mr. Granville. Last year, we were contacted by the University of South Florida about doing a LiDAR scan of the system, which they wanted to do the streetcars and the stations here in Ybor as part of their database. Some of you may be familiar that they did Union Station. So we were quite honored that, they wanted to include us as part of the cultural resources of the city. So we set it up, and they came out for 2 weeks. They were out here in the field doing the LiDAR scans, and the stuff they did was absolutely incredible. You can take the measurements off our cars, our stations, to within millimeters, that this technology is that accurate. So now all that will live on for perpetuity. But when it was all said and done, it was incredible, and I wanted to share that with all of you. So I would like to call Laura Harrison and Stephen Fernandez up from the University of South Florida, and they can give their presentation.
All right. Hello, members of the board. Thanks for having us. My name is Stephen Fernandez. I'm an associate instructor at the Urban and Regional Planning Program at USF, also the director of the Smart City Technology Program there, and a Hillsborough County Planning Commissioner. So I just want to introduce myself. My colleague, Dr. Laura Harrison, she's going to give you the presentations on the scans. We've been partnering on these kind of projects for about 5-6 years now. We've done amazing locations, Casitas in Ybor, the streetcars now, Union Station, New World Brewery, before they ripped it down. That's part of Firehouse number 2. And I know I probably missed one in there, but we've been doing this for years, and it's just a great opportunity. So I just want to thank you for having us, and I'm going to pass it on to my colleague, Dr. Laura Harrison.
Thank you so much again. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for HART for providing great access to the streetcars for the purposes of historic preservation. So as Stephen mentioned, we're both faculty at USF, and we're really involved in community engagement and using the technologies at my lab, which is called Access 3D, to really further the preservation of Tampa's historic resources, including the streetcars. So we wanted to just kind of go over with a few of the highlights of this project that we carried out last year and sort of processed through the last fall and then turned over to HART earlier this year. And so the goals of the project were to document the iconic HART streetcars themselves, as well as 3 of the stations, create geospatial deliverables for HART that could be integrated with ArcGIS for urban planning, also create an enduring record of the state of preservation of these streetcars down to millimeter level accuracy, and of course, deliver all of these assets to our community partners in HART. A little bit about the instrumentation that we use to achieve these goals. So we're really fortunate at my lab at the University of South Florida to have several different LiDAR scanners that are really state-of-the-art. LiDAR is an acronym that stands for Light Detection and Ranging. It's found in everything from self-driving cars to iPhones, and it really is a great way to create a rapid 3D representation of the world around us. And so we're seeing increasingly these applications within historic preservation as well as urban planning. We use 3 different scanners to scan the streetcars, including the FaroFocus Premiums, S150, and X330 series. What's amazing about these scanners is they have a range of about 1,000 feet. And so we're really able to generate a 3D model not only of the streetcar itself, but also with the stations, really the urban fabric around them. So again, a great resource for the city of Tampa and for HART. I have a couple of photos here of just our team doing the field work. Again, very gracious for HART to allow our team access into the car barn. We're really appreciative of that. It made a huge difference in our ability to document every single millimeter of these amazing assets. Once we had the scan data that was collected over the span of about 2 weeks last summer, we then brought it back to my lab at the University of South Florida and ran through an entire processing workflow. It was also a great training data set for our students, but we also produced the final deliverables for HART using this process of sort of collecting that raw data, running it through a lot of different algorithms, manually removing bad data and cleaning the data, and then finally creating deliverables and visualizations. Here's just a little image showing a little bit of that manual work that we did to clean up this data set. So on the left, you can see all the different tripods and some of that noise in the data that's caused from reflectivity of things like windows. We went in there, we manually removed all of that data and then created a nice, clean visual product for the city. A little bit about the accuracy here. So we have about 2 millimeter accuracy on all of the streetcars and the stations, which is basically as good or better than the published accuracy standards for these instruments. So it's a really great ability to, again, be able to look not only at the streetcars at that level of detail, but also the tracks and stations as well. When we think about digitally preserving these sites and also in the context of heritage at risk, it's really useful to know that we have this level of documentation. Should something like a hurricane come through and damage the streetcars, we can go back and say, well, this is exactly how they were in 2023. So again, really useful for purposes of conservation going forward. Here's a couple of images of what the deliverables looked like. So we've got some overview maps and orthophotos, which are geometrically corrected images. That means you can measure them. And so, again, in terms of doing some maintenance on the streetcars and just having an archive for the city, these are the types of images that we can then use kind of like how an architect would look at them, almost like a CAD drawing. So again, very highly detailed measurements. They're all colorized. And we do have all of the streetcars documented in this way. So here's just a couple examples. We also have the ability to create really interesting visualizations colorized with XYZ values. And so those are great for public heritage communication, which is something I'll touch on a little bit more as we get a little farther in the presentation. So our LiDAR scanners are amazing. We go out into these sites like Station 1, and we're able to, in the span of about an afternoon, collect about 300 million measurements of that structure. And so that's what these LiDAR scans are really comprised of. So of course, we can derive 2D images from those 3D maps, but it's really based on millions and millions of measurements. There's lots of different great ways to visualize all of this data, so that's a little bit what we're seeing here. Again, these hundreds of millions of measurements, when we did Station 2, we were able to capture many of the surrounding facades as well. So really great detail of those historic areas of Ybor City. We've got here about 250 million measurements from Streetcar Station 3. Again, just a couple of hours of scanning, and we're able to collect that type of data. I should also mention that this can also be part of an ongoing heritage monitoring program if HART were interested, given the fact that it is fairly rapid to create these types of maps of the urban environments with the scanners that we have. And then finally, I have a little video here. Apologies, I know it's a little bit jumpy. One of the little things that we're always working, we're really dealing with big data sets here. So sometimes we do require really powerful hardware to see them. But apologies for a little bit of that glitchiness. What you're seeing here is a 3D, oops, my apologies here, a 3D representation of the streetcars. Okay, sorry. I think I went back too many. Okay, so the Bernie's coming up now. Again, once we have these 3D data sets, that means that we can look at them from all different angles. We can create drawings, slice down the middle, however you want, even do details of features like the seats or even the conductor areas. So a really powerful asset to turn over to the city. We're also really committed at my lab not only to just document, Tampa's cultural heritage, but also find ways to use these innovative visualizations to really engage the public. And so we're kind of envisioning that things like these 3D animations and visualizations could possibly end up in something like a museum exhibit, or even possibly integrated in something like virtual reality or augmented reality. So allowing people to sort of interact with these digital models that become sort of a base map for that type of engagement. And this is the type of work that we've also done throughout the region at places like Egmont Key and Fort DeSoto. It's also something that we've played around with in the idea of with like Union Station. So again, we're very committed to the idea of using these visualizations in innovative ways. I think our video is not quite happening anymore, but I'll just give you a couple examples here. So imagine these streetcars. We have a project in Clearwater using that same technology, but adding on animations on top of it. So when you visit a mural, you bring your phone out and then you can see it come to life before your eyes. So there's ways that we can sort of use these scans, not only as a record for public heritage, but also as possibly a way to even further engage with them, including with the public. So again, we do lots of projects like this throughout the region. We also do virtual reality. That's the one with the headset that you put on. And so in that way, it's a very immersive way to experience cultural heritage. On the left here, you can see a video screen capture of the inside of a headset as somebody is navigating around Egmont Key and learning about the cultural heritage resources there. So that's another way that you can also possibly use these products that we've created, not only for historic preservation, but again, also for public outreach and access. Finally, with augmented reality, which is the one kind of like the murals where you take a device and point it at the model of a streetcar, you can also sort of annotate and add sort of engagement. And so I just want to put this slide up just to highlight the fact that now that we do have these scans, there's many different possibilities for how you might want to engage with them. And it does cover a lot of bases in terms of digital preservation, archiving, and public outreach. So with that, I will turn it over for questions or comments, and there is our contact information up there at the top. Thank you.
Very impressive indeed. Questions?
No question for me. It was phenomenal. Thank you for bringing this to life. This is, I can only imagine the way we could utilize this type of information or this type of showing and to educate and bring awareness to what we can do and how we can enhance the lives of our community and others. So this is just fascinating. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, and if you don't mind, we'll be giving an extended talk on April 3rd, which is next week, Wednesday, at the Tampa Bay History Center, where we'll be going more into not just the streetcars, but other projects that we do and incorporating some of the historic maps of the streetcar system too. So if you can, please join us Wednesday night. Thank you.
Let me ask you, I'm coming to that lecture, and I'm looking forward to it. Are you also going to talk about the history of the original streetcar system?
Through maps. So my background is cartography, my undergraduate degree. And so we are going to be exploring the roots and the layout of the streetcar system from its beginning. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Thank you, folks.
The only other question I have, is this going to be on the board agenda?
It wasn't scheduled to be on the board agenda.
Okay, I was just wondering, this is significant, and just another way to, how HART is enhancing, and our partners are enhancing the use of our tools, and how we could just, magnify what was already done. So I think it's very real look at AI and all aspects of it and where we're going.
Okay. You might be able to.
Can we provide a copy to the board of the report?
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Just one.
Sure.
So does this tie into any kind of light projection technology as well, like the LiDAR, meaning can you use the LiDAR models to create light projection stuff?
Like projection mapping, kind of?
Not, I'm talking more about actually projecting onto the streetcar. I'm just kind of curious. I know it's a weird question, but is there anything that you could use the models to actually create like a light projection onto the streetcar?
I think probably. I don't have that expertise myself, but I'm sure that we could probably engage with somebody who did. We have been able to, I don't know, tackle all kinds of technical challenges through collaborating with partners and sort of finding a way. It's a pretty versatile data set, so I don't, like I said, have that expertise myself, but I'm optimistic that there probably is somebody out there who does, and we have the data set ready to go for that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to add, we were in LiDAR magazine that featured all these projects a couple months ago. And one of the things that we pulled off and were highlighted for was taking these scans and putting them out on the tracks. So even though the Bernie does not leave the station, we can animate it going down the street. And so, have it in that central EBOR scan that you saw, we can place it there as if it is being used for, again, just for a public outreach really, but it's really great, awesome technology.
And we can 3D print everything now, right? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
3D
Including
print
a new
the
streetcar?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, a nice big one.
Oh, you need another one?
We could use another one.
If you guys think of any other questions or ideas, also, we're just right across town at USF. We're always in Ybor and just around the area scanning all the time, so feel free to reach out, and we're happy to chat scanning anytime.
And if you wanted to see us in the field and see how it's done, we're actually scanning Port Tampa City Library this summer. So every year we have a new project, and we're excited about that one. So that's our next one. We'll be doing that in mid-May.
Very cool.
Yep.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 7 is Marketing Services Report. Mr. Wazinski.
Good afternoon, board members. Frank Wazinski, Manager Marketing for Hart. I don't have anything as great as that to report for the month. But I did want to add that, I immediately thought about when we do give the Bernie over to Shaw's group, and if that does take place, that could easily be a great tool to utilize in any kind of an exhibit there. And we have been talking about doing 3D prints of the streetcar using the scans that they have. So for this month, you have here the marketing and graphic supports that included Streetcar Live collateral. We're changing the streetcar signage now that we have 3 new station sponsors on board. We took it as a good time to refresh some of the signage. The signage previously had channel side reference and things like that. And so we're referencing Water Street, just updating the look and feel of that.
Good.
We had some, we promoted service to the San Diego Night Parade, and so we had some collateral related to that. As far as streetcar service to downtown events, the Gasparilla Volleyball Classic, Fiesta Day, excuse me, some lightning games and various events like Drake at the Emily Arena. Streetcar Live featured Light the Wire, which is a local indie folk group, and that was on February 22nd. As far as media coverage, this is probably the biggest thing that I have to report for the month. I don't know if you all saw, but the Cato Institute had a study that studied streetcar systems and efficiency, and actually found that the T-Line streetcar is the most efficient streetcar system in the nation.
Really?
Or at least one of them based on our numbers. And so we actually posted it on social, and it got picked up by a couple local blogs, and also WMNF did an interview with Justin, our Director of Scheduling and Service Planning, regarding the efficiency of the streetcar. And it was actually roughly about by $1 or so per cost per trip versus other systems, and the other free systems as well in the nation. So that was pretty much the highlight of that. Streetcar Live also got picked up this month, and also there were some articles related to the night parade and using the streetcar to get there. As far as the transit advertising, the only thing I have to report for this month is that we welcomed E&J Gallo Winery on board for 6 months, and they're going to be doing a full wrap. So they're on, I believe, until August. So I'm here for any questions.
Seeing none, thank you so much,
All
Frank.
right.
Sounds like you had a good month. Agenda item number 8 is Streetcar System Performance Report. Mr. Allen.
Good afternoon, Brian Allen, Director of Streetcar Operations. Have both January and February's report. For January, operationally, it was a great month. We had 11 and a quarter missed trips. That was 8 due to mechanical issues, 3 for a schedule adjustment, and a quarter for a car blocking the tracks. On-time performance was 99.54, and we had no accidents. The packet that's in the report that's in your packet is wrong, though, about special service. We did provide 35 extra hours of service for Gasparilla. That wasn't originally picked up on our, it was a misstep in our control center. So, ridership for January was 118,218, just a little below last year, but Gasparilla ridership was 12,262, which was a record for us. And of the total ridership, 126 were 88 boardings. For February, we had 37 missed trips, 22 and a half because of mechanical issues, 8 because of a shortage of operators, 5 3/4 due to accidents, and 3/4 of a trip due to a car needing cleaning. On-time performance was 99.44 for February. The accidents that were mentioned on, excuse me, on February 17th, we had a car run in front of us at on 8th Avenue and 13th Street, right up here by the parking garage, and was struck. The driver was cited for failure to yield. That evening, Streetcar 430 struck a pedestrian down by York Street. It was a glancing blow. The pedestrian did not want medical treatment, and he left the scene on his own. And then finally, on February 29th, 428 was crossing the driveway in front of Sparkman's Wharf when a car made a turn in front of it, and it was struck. The driver of the Honda, or the car, was also cited for this accident. Ridership for February was 105,328, which was below last year's numbers. But 88 boardings for the month were 136, which was higher than last year for those boardings. As far as our staffing goes, we are full with motorman positions right now. We have 2 people that are in training, which will round out our forces for there. And the only opening I have is for a service attendant. As far as infrastructure work on the streetcar, in January, we had a company come in and raise 19 sunken panels at Dick Greco Plaza to eliminate tripping hazards. And then in February, we brought in Balfour Beatty to do substation training for our maintenance personnel. So that concludes my report. If anybody has any questions for me.
Another busy month.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's move to agenda item number 9, legal and legislative reports. Mr. Smoker?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to report.
The chair's report, CSX Insurance, we have a glitch in the billing. Mr. Smoker and I learned about it about 10 days ago, and we have a meeting with the city to discuss it. It appears we may owe more money. We're not quite sure. We are fully covered, so I'll have a report for you next month. Hart, Chief Executive Officer's report. Mr. Drainville.
Thank you, President English, and good afternoon again, board members. Today, on February 5th, 2024, the HOP Board of Directors approved the contract award to Gameco Trolley for their midlife rehabilitation services. Just yesterday, car 431 was picked up, and this will allow them to perform a complete overhaul on up to 5 of the streetcars. For the City of Tampa coordination update, on Tuesday, March 12th, Hart staff in the City of Tampa and the Federal Transit Administration participated in the bi-monthly coordination call in support of the streetcar extension project sponsored by the City of Tampa. Moving on to the budget development process. During the 2024 legislative session, the comprehensive Florida Department of Transportation package was approved that included several provisions that will impact public transit. One of them relates to transit agency administrative costs. It requires each public transit provider to annually certify that its budgeted and actual generated general administrative costs are no greater than 20% of the above state average administrative costs of either a Tier 1 or a Tier 2 system. HART is a Tier 1 system. Staff and I met with FDOT to seek further guidance on the bill. We will be reviewing the administrative costs for potential reductions during the budget development process. At the same time, there's another factor that will largely affect the budget development process this year. The FDOT study, the HART Governance and Operational Managed Analysis, presented a few recommendations. One of them was the development of a cost allocation plan. It stated that written cost allocation plan is a clear best practice guide for effective fiscal management. The process for developing a cost allocation plan involves identifying, measuring, and allocating all HART direct and indirect costs. As stated in the report, the cost allocation plan is expected to be a reasonable estimate of how HART will use and charge shared costs and services. The cost allocation plan will be developed in accordance with 2 CFR Part 200, Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements for Federal Awards. As staff continues to develop the FY25 budget, it will present it to the City of Tampa to include additional funding to replace the FDOT grant and include revised overhead costs. On April 7th through the 9th, I will be traveling to DC with a dual purpose to attend the American Public Transportation Association's legislative conference and to have meetings with the congressional delegation and the Federal Transit Administration staff. I will continue to reiterate HART support for the streetcar extension project. And then last thing, HART staff did sit down for an interview with WMNF 88.5 on Wednesday, March 13th, to discuss a recent Cato Institute study showcasing the TICO streetcar and being the most efficient, low cost per trip streetcar system in the nation.
Wow.
And that concludes my report.
Do you have that report available?
We can get that to you.
Would you send that to everybody?
Absolutely.
I was just bragging about it the other day and then was like, oh, wait, the documentation would be helpful. So thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that your report?
That's it. Thank you.
you so much. Compliance reports, they've already been reviewed and approved, but they're in your folder. Old business, is there any old business? Is there any new business? If not, I'd like a motion to adjourn, and I want to thank you all very much for being here today.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Thank you very much. See you next month.
Scott, how
Thank
did
you.
the car out of here? The one they took away to refurbish? Yeah.
So what's your new title?